The bell above the diner door jingled weakly as the wind pushed through, carrying in the smell of gasoline and dust. The afternoon sun poured through the glass, lighting up the chrome counter and faded red booths. Behind the counter stood Haley Brooks, a 24-year-old waitress with tired eyes, and a quiet grace that came from surviving more storms than anyone her age should. Her ponytail was coming loose, and her apron stained with coffee and syrup hung like a battle flag of endurance. She had been working since dawn, smiling through exhaustion, serving customers with the same politeness she'd learned from her late mother. Be kind, even when the world isn't. But kindness didn't always protect you. The diner door slammed open again. 3 men in ripped jeans and leather jackets swaggered in, the kind that carried chaos wherever they went. They smelled of cheap beer and smoke, and the way they looked at Haley made her heart skip a nervous beat. The tallest one, with a scar running across his cheek, smirked as he leaned on the counter and snapped his fingers. "Hey, sweetheart. Serve us, Btch," he spat, loud enough for everyone in the room to hear. The chatter stopped. The old couple in the corner looked down at their plates. The cook, a graying man named Jerry, froze mid-flip behind the grill. "Before we go any further, if you believe in kindness, courage, and second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. Your support helps us bring more true and emotional stories to life." Haley's hand trembled slightly as she poured water into their glasses, but she said nothing. She'd dealt with drunks before. She needed this job. Rent was due, and her younger brother, Mason, was counting on her. He was in college now, studying mechanical engineering, something Haley had given up her own dreams to help him pursue. She smiled weakly and said, "Can I get you gentlemen started with anything?" The scarred man grinned wider. "Yeah, how about a smile that's real?" His friend snorted and slapped the table. "You think she's capable of that? She looks like she's one broken plate away from crying." Laughter echoed through the diner, loud and cruel. Haley swallowed the lump in her throat and nodded, her voice soft. "I'll be right back with your order." She turned to leave, but one of them reached out and grabbed her wrist. The diner's air turned heavy. His grip was tight, possessive. "Hey, we're talking to you," he said, pulling her closer. Her heart raced. She tried to free herself, but his fingers dug deeper. "Jerry the cook," called out shakily. "Let her go, man." The thug glared. "Mind your business, old man." Haley felt the tears sting, but she refused to let them see her cry. Her mother's voice echoed in her mind, "Even in fear, you stand tall." Finally, he let go, shoving her back slightly. She stumbled, but caught herself. Laughter followed again. The door opened. The sound of engines had preceded it, low, rumbling, and deep like thunder crawling across the horizon. 3 men in black leather vests stepped in, the sunlight gleaming off their polished boots and patches that read Ironheart's MC. The leader, a tall man with graying beard and sharp blue eyes, scanned the room quietly. His name was Cole Maddox. People said he used to be a soldier, the kind who'd seen enough pain to understand what real cruelty looked like. He noticed Haley instantly. The fear in her eyes, the smirk on the thugs' faces. He didn't speak at first. He just took a slow breath, cracked his neck slightly, and walked to the counter. His 2 brothers in arms followed Tank, a broad man with tattooed arms, and Arrow, the youngest, quiet but alert. Cole's voice was calm, but it carried weight. "You okay, miss?" Haley forced a smile. "Yes, sir. Everything's fine." The scarred man laughed from his booth. "Yeah, everything's fine. She's just clumsy." Cole's eyes narrowed slightly. He looked at the man, then back at Haley. "Doesn't look that way to me." The air turned electric. Jerry, still behind the grill, whispered to Haley, "Maybe they'll leave." But Haley shook her head. She knew the kind of men those thugs were, the kind who pushed until someone pushed back. The tallest one stood up, stepping toward Cole. "What's your problem, old man? You got something to say?" Cole smiled faintly. "Not really. Just don't like seeing anyone get pushed around, especially someone working hard to make an honest living." "Yeah?" The thug sneered. "Then maybe you should mind your own." He didn't finish. Cole's fist connected with his jaw before the word could leave his mouth. The thug hit the floor, his chair toppling over. The room gasped. The second thug lunged forward, but Tank caught him mid-stride, flipping him onto a nearby booth with a single motion. Arrow stepped between the third thug and Haley, calm but cold. "Sit down," he said quietly. For the first time, the diner was silent. Even the clock ticking above the register seemed to pause. The scarred man groaned, holding his jaw. "You're dead, old man," he growled. Cole crouched down, his voice low and steady. "Son, you've had your fun. Now you're gonna apologize to the lady, pay for what you ordered, and walk out of here. Understand?" Something in Cole's tone, calm, certain, unshakable, made the man hesitate. He looked around. His friends were still groaning, one clutching his stomach. Finally, he spat on the floor but muttered, "Sorry." Cole stood up. "Didn't quite hear that. Sorry," the man said louder this time, eyes on Haley. She nodded, still trembling. "It's okay," she whispered, though everyone knew it wasn't. The thugs stumbled out, dragging each other toward the door. The bell jingled one last time before silence returned. Haley stood frozen for a moment, then finally exhaled. "Thank you," she said softly. I didn't know what to do." Cole shook his head. "You don't need to thank us, sweetheart. You were just doing your job. People like that, they feed off fear. You stood your ground." Her lips quivered into a faint smile. "I tried." Tank leaned on the counter, grinning. "You did more than try. Most folks would have quit on the spot." Cole glanced toward the kitchen. "Coffee for the crew?" Haley nodded quickly. "Of course, on the house." But Cole raised a hand. "No, you let us pay double. You've done enough." As Haley poured their coffees, her hands still trembled slightly, but now, for a different reason, relief. She felt seen, protected. They stayed for an hour, talking about life on the road, about small towns that felt forgotten, and about how people still looked out for each other in quiet ways. Haley learned that Cole's group, Iron Hearts MC, often rode across the state helping vets, widows, and struggling folks get back on their feet. When they left, Cole placed a $100 bill under his empty cup. "For your brother's college," he said gently. Haley froze. How did you know?" He smiled. "You wear that necklace that says M+H. Looks like a sister's gift. You've got the kind of eyes that carry other people's dreams." Her eyes filled with tears. "Thank you," she whispered. Cole nodded once. "Keep your chin up, Haley. The world needs more hearts like yours." They walked out into the sunlight, the engines roaring to life again, echoing across the highway like thunder rolling away after a storm. That night, Haley sat on the diner steps after closing, staring at the fading horizon. For the first time in weeks, she let herself cry, not from fear or pain, but from gratitude. In one afternoon, strangers had reminded her that goodness still existed, that not everyone looked away when darkness showed up. The next morning, she came into work early, brewed a pot of coffee, and wiped down every table. When Jerry asked why she was smiling, she said quietly, "Because yesterday I saw real courage, and maybe that means I can find mine again too." The diner became a little safer after that day. Word spread fast in small towns, and no one messed with Haley again. Every time a biker engine rumbled in the distance, she smiled just in case it was them. Weeks later, a letter arrived at the diner. It was from Cole. Inside was a note and a small patch that read Iron Hearts, honor, strength, compassion. The note said, "Keep this close, Haley. Not everyone who wears a patch rides a bike. Some just carry kindness wherever they go." She pinned it behind the counter, right next to a framed photo of her mom. And every time she looked at it, she felt a warmth inside that no cruelty could ever dim again. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, and subscribe to Kindness Journal, because every act of courage deserves to be remembered. Special request, comment below. Kindness always wins if you believe that even in a cruel world, good people still stand up for others.